Hey y'all, it's Linda Niece and I'm back with yet another video. So tonight we're going to get straight into it. We're going to talk about SNAP benefits, better known in the hood as food stamps. So listen, I know, getting food stamps is a little taboo, but let's be honest. Food stamps is a thing that has always been a stable part of growing up in the hood. People get food stamps. I remember being young and not knowing what food stamps were. I remember being in Kmart and I actually found a $5 food stamp on the ground. Didn't know what it was. I was a little puzzled. I was like, what is this? $5. It don't look like real money, but I don't know. I think I took it to my mom and I'm not sure what happened after that. But anyway, food stamps have came a long way. They're no longer in a book. I know, once I got older, I found out that they used to be in a little book. You had maybe $1, you had $5, you had increments of money, real money. And then they graduated to the card. It's almost like the child support check. People say, I'm waiting on my child support check, but now it is on the card as well. But we're going to get into it. So what is SNAP? What is food stamps? People throw the word around, and if you've never gotten them, you probably don't know what it is. And, many people have probably never gotten food stamps if, quote unquote, they've never been in a hard situation. And for some pride themselves on never, ever, have needing food stamps. Or I don't get those, or I don't need those. And then better yet, they come and want to ask people for theirs. I see so many social media posts where people are like, who's selling food stamps? Usually around the holidays or they're having a cookout. And I know people were going bonkers because during the pandemic, they were giving people unheard of amounts of food stamps, literally almost $2,000 in food stamps, and people was trying to get rid of them. Probably should have kept them because they don't expire. They will stay on that card until you spend the last amount. Literally, people have even, had food stamps. They lose the card and all that kind of stuff and they be a little salty, but I'm going to get straight into it, right? So, according to the government, SNAP is nutrition assistance. SNAP provides nutrition benefits to supplement the food budget of needy families so they can purchase healthy food and move towards self-sufficiency. And it is usually determined by your household size, the gross monthly income, and net monthly income. So who can get it? They said needy families, right? So nobody wants to be called needy. It's just, there's a negative connotation toward being needy. Nobody wants to be called that. But guess what? You got people who need to eat. Eating, and it's part of survival. It's nutrition. It gives you energy. You must feed your family. So, it's needed. It's a needed resource. I know some people are embarrassed to say it, that they get food stamps. And I know that people used to also hide it, not want to pay with food stamps in the store. They want to make sure that they, hide it. Girl, don't talk about them food stamps. Don't tell nobody you get food stamps. And it is what it is. So let's talk about the supplemental part. So, I've read stories and heard people say that they don't give you enough food stamps. I wish I got more. And while some people have a lot, some people get just enough. They want to give you something to supplement your income. It's exactly what it says. Supplemental nutrition assistance program is to supplement your already existing food bill. I think a lot of people miss that part of it. A supplemental nutrition assistance program. So they are basing it off your income. They say, hey, let me see, what is your rent? Do you have any other expenses? What do you pay? Do you pay child care? And all these different things. And then they go back and they do their calculation. And they say, hey, listen, based on this is what you already, quote unquote, spend on food. We're going to give you this amount of food stamps to be able to supplement your food bill, and you can add it. So hypothetically, if you already expended maybe $300 and they feel it though that's sufficient enough for your family size, and then they say, okay, you know what, we'll give you $300 to add to that. So you should be able to feed your family. But most of the time, people are not supplementing it. They using all those food stamps, only strictly for food. They like, why should I have to spend my own cash on this food? Like, if you're giving me free money, why should I have to, use my own? So, let's get into that. Like, should you have to use food stamps only? Should you have to use your cash? And I think you should, actually, that's what it's for. If it doesn't stretch, you know that you have to put more money to it. There are some things that it may not buy. Some and many things that people buy with these food stamps, why it don't last, is because people be out there buying seafood. Like, when you got free money, you like, I'm gonna buy everything that I can buy that I could not afford or would not have spent with my regular, paycheck. My food bill. If you spending your own money, you're usually like cutting back a little bit. You like, oh, I can't afford that, But if you getting food stamps, you might ball out on some crabs, some seafood, high-end products, versus like store brand and things like that. You may be buying meat or something and really filling up your deep freezer. And I think the other misconception is that people spend it the first of the month. Like, the first of the month, there's a time when you go into the grocery store that it's just not a good time. The lines are going to be long, probably like a 15th. Now, granted, people get food stamps all throughout the month. You do get your number, you get your card. So, you'll get it at different times. And I think that they space it out a little bit so everybody ain't in there on the first, And then it goes by application date. So, depending on when you actually went there to get the food stamps, that's when you'll probably figure out your date. But how do you actually make food stamps last? So this is the hard part, right? Because it can be hard. You in there, you going, you like, hey, our refrigerator is empty as hell. But you have to plan your meals. And this is where it becomes like a necessity to plan, because if you go in there, you're going to ball out, and depending on how big your kids is or how big your family is, people are probably going to eat that food quite fast. And then we're not talking about the extra visitors that are at your house who are not counted in that equation when, the government or the state actually calculated how many people are supposed to be eating off these food stamps. Everybody got somebody who's coming over eating food, and you wonder why it's not lasting. So you either going to add those people to your food stamp thing, or you're going to have them stop eating at your house. But let's continue. So you want to go in there and you want to plan your meals. Let's talk about like maybe meal prepping or planning out your meals. Like, are we going to have spaghetti one night? So you want to get, things that you can make your spaghetti. Make sure you got fruits and vegetables. That's a filler. Yeah, y'all want a snack? Go ahead and get that. What else can you have? You can have other pasta. You can have, meats, but make sure you are making it healthy. Make it a healthy meal. You want to have meat, starches, vegetables, things like that. Like, actually portion it out. And then sometimes you may have to cut back on the thirds and the seconds. I know the kids are hungry, but that's when you fill in those healthy snacks and adding some starches to it. And then you go to Produce Junction, right? Now, a lot of people say eating healthy is very hard and is expensive. But I don't think so. Like, if you go to Produce Junction, many of the things there are like $1, $2, probably on the high end, maybe $3.50 or something like that. But you can get a lot of stuff. Now, granted, these vegetables probably have to be eaten quite fast. But if you're using and planning the meals out, you got a little time with the leftovers that you can actually have your food. Make sure you get a big enough freezer. Make sure you put dates on your food. People are just freeze stuff and then not know how long it's been in there. Or you forget about it if you have a deep freeze and you just keep packing it and packing it all up in there. So it is achievable. Like, don't get discouraged. It's achievable that you can actually make food stamps work. Another thing, you go to BJ's, you want to make sure that you buy things that will actually last. Like, I've seen people with carts, not saying that I know for sure that they were using food stamps, but they actually had like all kinds of snacks in there, looked like the Poppy store. Like, and ultimately those snacks are not healthy for your kids. Like, that's why, there is a huge obesity problem in the world, because people are just not eating healthy. And then it doesn't help that, like, when you live in the hood, you got all these different stores that are around you, Poppy stores, delis. You got fast food that be calling your name as you're driving down the street. These aromas that creep through your window. Pizza stores around you. So it can be tempting to eat something quick. You're like, oh, I don't want to cook. And then next thing you know, you're probably not buying the food that you need to help you be healthy and keep you healthy and live longer. But who is eligible? So they do base this off your income, your family size, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they base it off your income. So they want to know, do you have pay stubs? Mind you, if you are a student, you need to be at least in school, have time enrolled, and they got some other guidelines. They also said that if you are taking care of a dependent that is 6 years old, like, let me go back to what they said about that, but I want to, quote you right. Taking care of a child 6 and under that is incapacitated, already at least working 30 hours a week, unable to work due to a physical or mental limitation, and participating regularly in an alcohol and drug program. A lot of people who are recently incarcerated also qualify for food stamps. And for those that do not have income, I've known several people, like, if you are in a bind, at least show them that you're trying to use resources, you're trying to get gainful employment, or if you got somebody taking care of you, they just want proof. They want to know that you are trying. So you can also get a letter from a family member or whoever you live with, and they can actually write a letter and let them know that they are taking care of you and they support you, and you can get food stamps that way too. So let's talk about, like, the hard question. Are food stamps like a bad thing? I don't think they're a bad thing. While it may be embarrassing, to some people to actually have to get food stamps or actually go to the welfare office, it's a resource like anything else. Like, that's like, how can I say it? Getting a government check or Social Security. Like, it's a resource. There are some people who actually need it. There are some who don't. If you don't, work for, your food and do what you got to do to feed your family. If you are ashamed about food stamps, don't be ashamed. Because, again, you will have them people knocking at your door talking about they want to buy some of your food stamps. It's okay. Now, how do you apply? You can go to the S.N.A.P website. There's a Keystone website that you can actually go to, and you can put an application. You can go to your local welfare office and actually submit an application. With that application, they'll ask you a series of questions. There's a book there. I actually found that going into the office actually helps, because they tend to lose your items. You go there, they like, hey, did you submit your stuff? You have to submit that stuff several times. Even if you go, you drop it off, you fax it, it just always seems like they can't find your belongings or your paperwork. So, I would say be consistent. I do know that once you go there and you sit and you take a number, that, you may also get, if you do qualify, emergency food stamps. And then after the emergency food stamps, you can actually go and, you'll receive a letter and they'll let you know your determination. Now, the determination will tell you if you actually qualify, to continue getting them monthly, or if that is the amount that you'll have, or they'll tell you what they need, if they can actually give you food stamps. And I hope you find this video helpful. Share this video. Thank you for watching, and make sure you subscribe to my channel, Hot Topics with Lynn Denise. Thank you for tuning in.